Hello everyone, this is Jeff Brown, the former president of the American Meteorology Society and a member of the American Meteorology Society, and a former Air Quality Inspector 3 with the AQMD, and now doing consulting work and some management as well. I just wanted to touch base with all my viewers today about the latest pattern of storms we've had come through the area. I don't think we need to review them too much, other than the fact that it was a nice mini atmospheric river, if you will, or a pineapple express, if you want to call it that. This is the storm. Actually, no, that's not the storm. That was another system that came through in mid-January. Sorry about that. This is the storm that came through here it is, in early February. And let's zoom in a little bit. You had a excuse me, a 977 millibar surface low west of San Francisco, about 200 nautical miles, maybe 180, with a nice fetch, a nice pineapple connection south of the Hawaiian Islands. That gave us pretty strong winds here in the San Fernando Valley, winds of like gusting, we had 35 to 55 miles an hour on Saturday, last Saturday. I believe that was that was February 2nd, 2019. So we got about 2 1/3 inches of rain, 2 3/4 inches of rain in about 24 hours. An inch and a third of that fell in about a 15-minute period. So we had very high rainfall rates. Now keep in mind, in 1943 January, when it rained 15 inches of rain in this neighborhood in less than 33 hours, those kind of rainfall rates continued for, which are about 6.5 inches an hour, continued for about an hour and a half during a very intense shortwave that came through. So it can happen here. It can actually happen at greater periods. So, but I did want to touch base with my viewers on the forecast of what the models are beginning to suggest. This is the GFS at 12Z today. This is a panel that kind of shows, I'm just going to show the surface features, and then I'm going to go to another website of that has the global forecasting system model as well. But you can see here that we remained in a cold pattern here with a pretty substantial northwest flow, and it's cold for February. We were 38 degrees this morning. I mean, it's been colder here, but it's pretty chilly. We've got some nice snow on the San Gabriel mountain range to look at this morning, which is very nice. But you can see this particular low here. The lows are dropping down just to our east, and then somewhere around, I would say, February 12th, Tuesday, at about 4 a.m. local time, you can see that there's a confluence going on here. Similar to what I've mentioned on the Facebook page of the American Meteorology Society of late January, mid and late January of 1969, where you have a Rex block in the Gulf of Alaska south of the Aleutian Island chain, and then you have an anchor cutoff low that kind of sits northeast of the Hawaiian Islands. This creates short waves at very low latitudes to our southwest. You can see that indicated here. This is the 144-hour window. When you get up to the 168-hour window for Wednesday at 4 a.m., you can see there's some confluence going on here. Almost identical to late and mid-January of 1969. You have a stable wave starting to go unstable, very deep at about 1,002 millibars to our southwest, about 800 miles, and then you have a comma cloud. And this baroclinic zone down here is really probably picking up a lot of subtropical moisture. And then you can see by the morning of Valentine's Day, February 14th, Thursday, you've got an occlusion developing to our west, 995 millibar surface low, about 600 miles west of Big Sur, and it's, again, you've got two low pressure centers, again similar to the last system where they kind of pinwheel each other. And then at the surface you have a very strong blocking Rex block ridge, 1,042 millibars, right smack in the middle of the Gulf of Alaska, just south of the Aleutian Island chains. This storm is not as deep as the last system due to the cyclogenesis process probably occurring a bit slower, which will enable it to have less winds, but the possibility of it to be able to entrain more moisture into it. Now this is, again, the 12Z0Z, or 12Z today of the GFS. This is the forecast at 216 hours. It's a little bit off into the future, but as you can see, you've got a 993 low. Now that's pretty much stalled about 700, 650 miles west of Pismo Beach, maybe Morro Bay. And you have this huge atmospheric river being pulled into central and southern California. And look at this, I'm going to show you something else. Here's 24 hours later. 4 a.m. Saturday, February 16th. This seems a bit extreme. You're talking torrential rains down to and south of Ensenada in Baja, Mexico, and it continuing over Southern California as the low eventually pulls out. So if this were to happen, this would be quite a rainfall event. And if you look at accumulations, let's go to the 240. This shows an enormous amount of rain. As you can see here, they're forecasting close to 200 millimeters of rain over a 3-day period over Southern California. Now 200 millimeters of rain, if you divide that by 25.4 centimeters, or millimeters, excuse me, 25.4 millimeters in an inch, you get about almost just under 8 inches of rain in 2 days over a very wide area. And then you also see that in the Sierra Nevada, you see 8 to 15 inches of rain, equivalent, but it would probably be in the form of snow, which, if you looked at this, would be in the feet in the Sierra Nevada. That's the snow end of it. So that to me is something to be concerned about as far as the rain, but it's a good thing in the sense that we need rain. Here's the surface features in motion with the GFS 12Z today. On the tropical tidbit site, you can see some cold core lows dropping down, some cold temperatures, and here is this atmospheric river that kind of develops for a couple of days. It's a level 1 atmospheric river event. It's not a level 2, but you can see that it definitely has the features of an atmospheric river event, bringing in another 6 to 8 inches of rain to LA downtown. LA is already almost just shy of 13 inches, so that would put them over 20 inches, 21 inches if that were to take effect. I do want to look at the northern hemispheric features as well, or North America. Let's look at North America. I'm sorry. Let's look at the upper dynamics, and I want to look at the surface features. And this is what I was talking about earlier. You've got this Rex block right here just south of the Aleutian Islands chain. It actually becomes an omega block at times. And look at this. This is a huge high pressure system here. Very strong. Way above normal heights in this region. Very rarely seen. And this is creating this confluence of the jet to go up and around and down our coast and all of that, the polar jet, and then the subtropical jet to undercut and create a confluence off our coast. Again, almost identical to 1969. Let's just run it so you don't hear me clicking on the mouse all the time. And eventually that Rex block does break down, but as it intensifies, which it is forecast to do somewhere around the 10th of February, that creates the stage for us to get more atmospheric river events across the southern half to southern two-thirds of California. And if you look at the surface features, it's responsive as well. You can see the pineapple connection as well. Let's take a look at that. Speed it up a little bit. You can see the intertropical convergence zone here just connecting right up with these storms. So they have two very interesting factors along with them. You have a very strong temperature gradient coming down off the coast, and then you have a strong tropical connection, perfect for giving us just a lot of rain and quite frankly low-level snow. So these aren't really typical warm events. There's a lot of cold air being entrained into these systems. And I did want to run this by, if I've got the 1969 event here, I wanted to show you the similarities in the 1969 event versus the events being forecast today. Let's go to 1969. We're going to look at the upper air charts here. This is January 10th, 1969. Let's forward this. Here you're looking at almost an identical pattern in mid-January of 1969. You've got the Omega block forming in the Gulf of Alaska, the deep Yukon type low dropping down the coast of the North American continent, and as you keep going here, you can see at low levels you've got a strong fetch of moisture coming across the state, and henceforth LA had its second wettest month in history and its wettest January in history in 1969 at 14.94 inches of rain. So there it is. There's your Rex block on January 21st, 1969. The troughing with this our current event seems to be a bit deeper and colder than the 1960. I'm sorry, that didn't come up. Than the 1969 events, because the Rex block seems to be quite intense. It doesn't seem to last as long as it did in 1969, but it is pretty intense. So you can see the similarities in that pattern, as I've alluded to on Facebook. And again, if we go back and we look, let's go back to the, let's go back to the North American upper dynamics. And let's check out the sea level pressure. It's probably a little bit better to look at this. This is North America. You got some color codes here that'll kind of give you an idea and it kind of lets you see where the cold air is going. You can see the cold air gets pinched off. It's coming down the west coast, and then in comes that blocking high. There's the cold air coming down the west coast. Okay. Now there's your anchor low. Quite deep, deeper than it was in 1969. Anchor low northeast of the Hawaiian Islands. There's your Rex block to the north, and that is the perfect setup for Southern California to get very copious rains. It's fascinating. And we could also look at this on the anomaly. So, you know, we're looking at 7 to 8 inches of rain. It's even higher if you look at the longer day, the 16-day forecast, which I really don't like going out that far because it almost always is not accurate. But there you go. Very similar. Almost identical to 1969, except it's transitioning a bit quicker. The jet seems to be a bit more vigorous. There's more cold air being pinched off from the Arctic region due to the weaker jet flow. That's why you had that polar vortex outbreak over the upper Midwest last week. I also believe it is contributing, the slowing down of the Gulf Stream could be contributing to this phenomena as well. The Gulf Stream's been slowing down since the 1930s. It started to slow down in the 1990s, and then it started to speed up again. And it is due to the ice melt off of Greenland, creating more surface, low salinity cold water at the surface of the ocean, basically pushing the overturning circulation, which brings warm water to Europe to slow down. Now, the response as of yet has not been anything but a cooler pool of water to the south of Iceland, but I believe it is closer to the United States than it is to Europe right now, and so we're seeing it affect us versus Europe. And it could have in the past affected Europe first. This time it seems to be affecting us first. Now, if the ice melt continues and the stream continues to slow down further and further, we could see probably some cooler winters ahead for the North American continent. I'm not sure about Europe yet. Possibly. So we could be in a cool pluvial period coming up for the next several years, maybe even a couple of decades, if it continues. To say it will continue to slow down or stop is something that I have no idea, and anybody that says they do is really kind of not being truthful. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Before I go, I wanted to show you the amount of rain that they're predicting. Oh gosh, let's go into the southwest. Look at that low that they're showing to be off the coast on the 22nd. Very deep. Let's go to the southwest. Let's go to 24. Oh no, let's go to total accumulation of precipitation. You can see that along the north of the 10 freeway, it looks somewhere around 7 to 8 inches of rain across Southern California, so that's a good sign. If we take a look at the FE3, they're a bit drier. They've been kind of vacillating a little bit more, so I'm not really going to show that right now. All right, hope you enjoyed the show, and talk to you all quite soon. All right, take care. This is Jeff Brown. Bye-bye.